Okay, Chair, we can begin.
Diolch yn fawr. Diolch yn fawr, bore da chi gyd. Good morning to you all. Menw I ydy'r cynghorydd, Austin Roberts, a fi ydy cadeirydd Pwyllgor, Trosolwg a Chraffu, Cyllid ac Adnoddau. Gallai gadarnhau bod swyddog y Pwyllgor wedi cynnal gwiriad sain cyn dechrau'r cyfarfod, felly dwi'n gobeithio bod pawb yn fy nghlywed i. Hoffwn groesawu pawb i'r cyfarfod heddiw lle rydym yn mynychu o bell yn ogystal ag aelodau'r Pwyllgor. Mae gennym ni hefyd aelodau nad ydynt yn aelodau'r Pwyllgor, aelodau'r cabinet a swyddogion yn ymuno â ni i gynorthwyo gyda'r trafodaethau. I'r rhai sy'n gwylio'r ffrwd fyw neu'r recordiad, mae yna seren ger enwau holl aelodau o'r Pwyllgor. Bydd y cyfarfod yn cael ei recordio a'i ffrydio'n fyw a bydd ar gael i wylio ar ôl y cyfarfod. Os bydd y ffrwd fyw yn methu, bydd y cyfarfod yn parhau a bydd recordiad ar gael trwy'r wefan y cyngor ar ôl i'r cyfarfod dod i ben. Hoffwn atgoffa'r aelodau bod cyfleusterau cyfieithu ar gael ac i ddewis eich iaith, ac os ydych chi'n dymuno siarad, defnyddiwch y swyddogaeth codi llaw. Gallwch hefyd defnyddio'r cyfleuster sgwrsio, ond sylwch efallai na fyddaf yn gallu monitro'r cyfleuster sgwrsio yn ystod y cyfarfod. Bydd pob meicroffon yn cael ei ddiffodd. Os ydych chi'n wedi dangos eich bod yn dymuno siarad, byddwch yn cael gwahoddiad i droi eich meicroffon ymlaen. Os ydych chi'n gadael eich dyfais am unrhyw rheswm a fyddwch chi cystal os gwelwch yn dda, a diffodd eich meicroffon a'ch fideo. Iawn, mi symudwn ni ymlaen at yr rhaglen. Eitem gyntaf, ymddiheuriadau am absenoldeb.
Yeah, apologies received from Councillor Anne McCaffrey, also Chief Executive Iwan Davies and Strategic Director Jane Richardson.
Diolch fawr. Oes gen rhywun unrhyw ymddiheuriadau eraill dros rhywun? Nag oes, symudwn ni ymlaen. Eitem 2, datgan cysylltiad. Jeff Corey? Jeff?
Thank you. Task and finish and forward work programme, pages 30 and 58, to consider a report in relation to the disposal of tier prints. I do work for Tier Prints Leisure. If I could have the appropriate paperwork, please, Sally. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
Diolch o'r cynghorydd Harry Saville.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I'd like to declare a personal interest in item 6, planning on raising a point that relates to Llandudno Town Council, of which I'm a member.
Diolch fawr, Harry. Iawn, o'n i ymlaen at eitem 3, materion brys. Oes na rhywbeth, Sally?
No, not that I'm aware of, Chair.
Diolch yn fawr. Reit, eitem 4, cofnodion y cyfarfod blaenorol. Os na rhywun yn barod i gynnig bod nhw'n gywir? Diolch yn fawr, Jeff Corey, eilio, Peter Lewis, diolch yn fawr. Nowch chi bawb dangos eich deilo, os gwelwch chi dda, i ddweud bod chi'n hapus. Diolch yn fawr. Reit, eitem, fedrai gadarnhau felly bod y cofnodion yna wedi'w cymeradwyo. Eitem 5, cofnodion cyfarfod anffurfiol cadeiryddion ac is-gadeiryddion y Pwyllgor Trosolwg a Chraffu. A mae hein i'w nodi. Os a rhywun yn cynnig bod nhw'n gywir? Phil, will you propose that they're correct? Diolch yn fawr. Nigel, will you second? Yes, diolch yn fawr. Show of hands os gwelwch chi dda. Diolch yn fawr. Medrai gadarnhau bod heini hefyd wedi'w derbyn. Eitem 6. Cofnodion bwrdd cyfleoedd Conwy. Os a rhywun yn cynnig bod hein yn gywir. Opportunities board. Councillor Nigel, diolch yn fawr. Councillor Peter Lewis yn eilio.
Councillor Harry has his hand raised, Chair.
Councillor Harry.
Yeah, thanks, Chairman. I just want to ask one question about this, and I'll be as quick as possible. The minutes make reference to a Transforming Towns Fund. I don't think it's something that we've had an opportunity to really discuss as scrutiny members of this council. But my understanding is that Conway have approached Abergele, Colwyn Bay and Llandudno Town Councils and asked them to put forward projects for the Transforming Towns Fund, but they've said to be eligible for it, the towns in question either have to have a place plan or some other sort of overarching structure that, you know, guides investment. Llandudno doesn't have one of these. So I would just like some sort of assurance from this council that they'll support Llandudno Town Council in creating some sort of plan, so Llandudno isn't left behind compared to Colwyn Bay and Abergele.
Diolch fawr, Harry. I don't know if there's an officer who can give you those reassurances.
No, I appreciate that, but if there's any officers that are able to, or if anyone can put up in due course, that'd be good.
But as I understand, because I attended one of the meetings, there are, I think, 7 or 8 towns in Conway which are eligible for this funding. And so I would imagine, obviously, Llandudno being the largest or second largest after Colwyn Bay. I can never remember which is larger of the two. However, I would imagine, but don't take my word for it, but I would imagine that is so. But that is something we'll look into and we'll get in touch with you if you're happy with that, Harry.
I'm incredibly happy with that. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Right, diolch yn fawr. I shall ask again, other than Harry, is everybody else happy with the minutes of the Opportunities Board? Thank you. I take it, Andrew Hinchcliffe, you're willing to make a proposal that they're correct?
It's just to note the minutes, Chair.
Just to note, yes, just to note that you're happy.
There, so I can't say for sure.
Okay, all right, okay. Anyway, can I have a show of hands that we accept them? Diolch yn fawr. Dyna ni. Right, eitem 7, cwestiynau I aelodau'r cabinet.
No, we have no questions, Chair.
Okay, lovely, diolch yn fawr. Right, eitem 8, adeiladu rhaglenni gwaith i'r dyfodol. A dwi'n meddwl mae Dawn Hughes sy'n mynd I gymryd hwn. Bore da, Dawn.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. So for the purpose of the live streaming and recording, I'm Dawn Hughes, the Scrutiny and Committee Services Officer for Conway. Can I advise you of some changes to the Finance and Resources Forward Plan since it was last published? So there's a number of finance reports which have been scheduled for the September meeting, which will include updates on the reserves and balances, progress reports on the 2021-2022 revenue budget and capital programme, and in addition, a report on the business planning framework for the year. In addition, the following reports have been scheduled for the meeting on the 4th of October. So as part of the renewal programme, the WorkWise 2020 framework will be sent to members, and also the business case for the Didith Road project will be coming to that meeting. I advised you at the last meeting we were organising some joint scrutiny committees. I've confirmed some dates for these now. So we've got a joint finance and resources and social care committee meeting on the 25th of October, and that will consider the audit report on the social services budget together with an update on the Meadow Lodge project. In addition, we've also organised a joint finance and resources and education and skills scrutiny committee for the 8th of November, and that is to consider the recommendations regarding the ALN, social inclusion and funding models. So that's following the consultation on that. That concludes my update, Chair. I think you're on mute, Chair.
Diolch yn fawr, Dawn. Os na rhywun efo unrhyw gwestiynau? Nag oes? Iawn. Gai ofyn I chi os ydych chi yn hapus I ni...
Councillor Andrew Wood has his hand raised, Chair.
Councillor Andrew Wood.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Just a quick one. We are talking about the forward work programme now. Obviously, aren't we, Dawn, yeah?
Yeah.
Right, okay, just the page 30, just to save Jeff mention it every time we come. When is the Tia Prince report? The original report was done in 2015, and we were waiting for a new report off estates, and I believe it may be an external report to talk about this. It's quite a sensitive piece of land. I know Nigel's quite involved with it. So can we have a date for this, or can you change what he's done? Because it's been there forever, along with a lot of other.
We have been chasing a date for it, and again, like I think you alluded to it. I think it's to do with external consultation or external consultants. So I will try and get a date, but we have been trying. So I think it's out of our control at the moment, but I will confirm with you.
Right, it's been on there for about a year now, at least. So thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Diolch yn fawr. Fedra I ofyn I chi felly codi'ch dwylo I ddweud bod chi'n hapus efo'r rhaglen gwaith. Diolch yn fawr, dyna fo, da ni'n nodi hwnna. Reit, ymlaen â ni eitem 9A, cofrestr risg gorfforaethol a chofrestr materion corfforaethol. Mae ddiolch I mi, dyn ni'n nana ddim yn gweithio bore yma. Reit, a dwi'n meddwl mae'n cyflwyno hwn yma Fran. Bore da, Fran Lewis.
Bore da, Councillor Austin, sut wyt ti?
Dwi reit da, chditha.
Good morning, members. For the purpose of the recording, I am Fran Lewis and I am the Corporate Performance and Improvement Manager in Conwy.
So, sorry, Fran, to disturb you. Before you go on, I see Councillor Nigel Smith has got his hand up. So, Councillor Nigel, is there anything? Or is that a mistake?
Sorry, Chair. I was going to comment after Fran's made her.
All right. Okay. Well,
gambit.
Yeah. So you're quick with your hand. Before she started talking, you had your hand up. All right. Thank you. Diolch yn fawr. All right. Mae'n ddrwg iawn gen I, Fran. Cari ymlaen. Diolch yn fawr.
Mae'n iawn. Okay. If I can take members to page 68 of the agenda pack, and I'm just going to highlight the key changes within both the corporate risk and issues reports. The first thing members need to be aware of is that normally we would go through this governance process as part of the service performance reviews that take place twice annually. But because of obviously the changes as a result of COVID, performance reviews were deferred in 2020. However, the corporate risk register and issues register have been reviewed through the chief exec and directors and key cabinet members during September 2020 and then earlier in May and June of this year. And I am pleased to report that service performance reviews have now taken place in June and July. In fact, the last performance reviews are today. So we're getting back on track. In terms of going through the process, we do have one new risk, which I've detailed on page 69 of your pack. And that's the risk that owing to significant increase in work pressures, we don't have sufficient staff resilience. The potential impact of that is that the well-being of staff declines, our sickness rates increase and objectives are not met. However, we've also listed in there the key controls that we have in place, which I won't go through line by line. But certainly in this round of service performance reviews, that has been a focus in terms of assessing what are the key challenges so that we have that overview of those specific service pressures. And in terms of mitigating actions, it has been ongoing communication throughout the whole pandemic in terms of those support systems that are in place for staff, and all managers have been encouraged to have regular well-being meetings as opposed to performance review meetings. And we are regularly reviewing staff attendance levels, and all managers are aware that they can escalate specific work pressures to SLT if there are areas of concern. So that's a new risk on the register. If I just take you to the overview of the risks, obviously within the pack, you do have all the risk details, but I'll just take you to page 75, where we've got the summary overview of our corporate risk register. And we've highlighted in the first column under the risk reference which risks have been changed. I'm pleased to report that through this review, we have actually managed to remove a lot of risks and also reduce some residual risk scores. There are two risks which have increased, which will come as no surprise to members, and they relate to risks around homelessness and cyber resilience. But if I just take you through the key changes, the first being civil contingencies and our ability to respond to emergencies. We have transferred that now to a service risk. I think we can all agree that we've had the best test ever in terms of our resilience, and thankfully we've stood up to that test throughout the pandemic with the controls and plans that we've had in place. The next risk that we have altered is CR 2.6 on page 76 of the pack, and that was our concern about the test, track and protect process, and our ability to cope, and that score's been reduced and transferred to a service risk. CR 3.1, homelessness, the risk that the level of homelessness could increase, has gone from an A3 to an A1 risk. Members who are involved in regulatory and housing performance review will be well aware that there's a significant pressure on our housing services at present as a result of the pandemic, and therefore the risk has been adjusted accordingly. CR 4.3, domiciliary care, the risk that it would be that it would collapse, that risk is now removed, and the service are happy that the preparations that have been put in place have been successful. Likewise, CR 4.4, the risk that we'll fail to maintain play infrastructure has been transferred to a service risk owing to the progress that's been made. And the CR 4.5, the risk that services are unable to provide safe and effective mental health services. Great deal of work has gone on there, and again that can now be transferred to a service risk now that the mental health team is working well and well established. The next risk on page 77, CR 5.3, the risk that the Economic Ambition Board does not deliver. This programme is now resourced, and it's recommended that this is removed from the risk register. Moving on to page 78, CR 6.2, the risk that we fail to meet our recycling targets. That's now transferred to the service risk register, and we've had our best recycling rates ever this year, which is great to hear. CR 6.4, the risk that Old Coal and sea defences will fail. This still remains a significant risk, but again, owing to successful business cases, we can reduce the risk to a C1. CR 6.6, this is a suggestion that we reword the risk. Climate change obviously remains a significant concern, but we're proposing just to remove the wording at a local level. So that's just a change in risk description. And moving on to page 79, CR 9.2, modernising our services, the risk that we don't reach our potential through the use of technology. Again, we're recommending that we reduce the residual risk there. There's some great work that's gone on over the last 18 months in terms of maximising the use of technology. As we all know, being on a virtual meeting now. Excuse me. CR 9.3, the risk of being able to manage or resource unfunded new responsibilities and other changes. We're just recommending a removal of the reference to pensions from that description. So still remains an A2 risk, but just changing the risk description. And nearly there, CR 9.7, the risk that we're unable to maintain business whilst dealing with the pandemic. Again, we're recommending that this risk is removed, that we're, although we are under pressures, we are coping well. And CR 9.8, the risk that the council departments do not use our facilities expertise. Again, a recommendation that we reduce the risk score there. And then finally, on page 80, the risk that we are insufficiently prepared for exiting the EU. Obviously, that has now happened, and we can propose to remove that from the risk register. And a changing under CR 10.4 in terms of cyber resilience. So this is another risk which has gone up in risk score, but we've just reworded that to reflect exactly what our concerns are. And finally, CR 10.5, we had a concern about the reallocation of audit resources to support the pandemic, and that hasn't been realised. Again, we're proposing that that can be removed from the risk register. So quite a lot of change in the risk register this time, but hopefully reassurance to members that through the controls we have in place, quite a few that can be reduced or removed from the risk register. So that's a whistle-stop tour, and I will hand back to you, Councillor Austin, for any questions that members may have.
Diolch yn fawr, Fran. Very concise and comprehensive as usual. Diolch yn fawr. Councillor Nigel Smith and then Councillor Gronw Edwards. Councillor Nigel.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for allowing me to give a question to Fran, really. Fran, I was looking on page 75, I think it's 1.2. People in Conway are safe and feel safe. And then as I read on through the report, I got to page 77, prosperous economy, CR 6.1, where it starts to mention flood defences. And I don't see anything on the report where, or on the risk register, where we could possibly be making the wrong decisions, where people are not feeling safe and that the flood defences may have an effect on the prosperity of our tourist economy. And I just want to clarify that is the fact that recently we agreed to submit a flood defence plan for Llandudno for a sand defence rather than a cobblestone defence to Welsh Government. Now, in recent years, we put cobble on the beach in Llandudno, which had a detrimental effect to the economy of that town, which was highlighted by the hoteliers and businesses in the area. Although it kept that promenade safe from flooding, it had a detrimental effect to the economy. And we've rectified that now, hopefully, and Welsh Government will support our bid for a sand defence for Llandudno. Looking at my own area, Kimmel Bay and Towyn, we have the narrowest promenade, I think, in the whole of Conway, if not Wales. It's that narrow that an emergency vehicle cannot access people who are in peril or in need of medical help along the promenade. It is that narrow. And recently we had a lady that fell on the rocks on the beach, did something to her ankle. They couldn't extricate her from that site via the promenade. They had to send a lifeboat to her from Rhyl to pick her up and take her to the harbour, which is in Kimmel Bay. And it just seems ludicrous to me that an area like Towyn and Kimmel Bay, who houses the most densely populated area in Western Europe for holiday accommodation, the caravans, with 55,000 plus visitors during the peak time in the season, has such poor promenade a sea defence. And yet officers are not offering us an alternative to just dumping more rocks and stones on that beach, which has a detrimental effect to the economy of Conway, because tourism is our biggest earner. And I really feel that there ought to be something on this risk register where when officers put forward plans for poorly designed sea defences, not taking in the consideration of the economy of the county, tourism, that should be classed as a risk in my mind. So I don't see that on this risk register, Fran, and I just wish your comments on that, please.
Thank you, Councillor Nigel. I mean, my first response would be this is something that you would need to discuss in more detail with Geraint Edwards. I'm not by any stretch of the imagination a flood risk specialist. I can take you to page 137 of the pack where we've got the flood risk in more detail, and it does note in there partway down the page that in terms of the management controls, there is a control there about grant funding secured for feasibility design and development for coastal defence schemes, and that includes Kimnall Bay. But I'm afraid I can't go into any more detail. I think that's a matter that you'd need to take up with Jane Richardson and Geraint Edwards. But Kimnall Bay is definitely listed within that risk controls.
I would definitely like to see the risk highlighted more prominently, because there is a risk that we could be damaging our tourist, our tourism by putting in poor sea defences that don't exactly enhance the area, but make it a negative rather than a positive. And I think that should be classed as a risk. But thank you anyway.
I'm going to bring in Councillor Greg Robbins. I think he might be able to answer some of Nigel's concerns. Greg.
Yeah, thank you for letting me speak, Chair. Just to clarify, this is something that Councillor Nigel's raised previously. It's been discussed at length at meetings and various meetings, including at the Rugland Flood Partnership. Just to clarify the current situation, there is actually consultancy work about to be commissioned on this. And as Councillor Nigel is aware, we're going to look at the options for potentially widening the promenade, if possible. Bearing in mind, Welsh Government strategy is you don't move into the sea, you hold the line, or withdraw the line, you don't advance the line. So we've got to deal with Welsh policy, etc. But this is something the consultants have been asked to look into once they've been commissioned into this work.
Diolch, Greg. Are you happy with that, Nigel?
I still think it's a risk and should be on the register myself.
Okay. Iawn, okay. Iawn, diolch fawr. Right, Cynghorydd Gronwy Edwards.
Diolch, thank you. I wasn't going to mention the risk to the economy, but as my former role of economic development, I don't know where Nigel bases the fact that the current defences are a risk to our economy, because certainly, the tourist economy of Llandudno and Kimnall Bay is very buoyant, and we've seen more tourists than ever. So, to say it is a risk, you need to quantify that. It's not actually quantified that it is a risk at all at the current stage. It's getting the balance right between sea defence and economic development. And it certainly didn't come up in my time as council member of economic development. The type of sea defences we have was a risk. So that needs to be looked at. But certainly the point I wanted to raise was a question to Greg, really. We're talking about the CR 62 on page 78 about recycling targets, and Conway's done an excellent job on keeping its recycling in the right way, and we are leading the field in that. But what effect does the additional litter we pick up during this summer period, as we know from open spaces, I think increased at the start of when we opened up from around 4 tonnes to 40 tonnes a week. How does that actually, how do we manage that when it comes to our recycling? And are we given extra resources to manage the increase in litter during the summer?
Yes, well, as we will be aware, and some members will be aware, we've had additional funding from Welsh Government due to COVID, and that's been fed into a resilience scheme for us on the waste and litter side. The amounts we're picking up are vastly greater, as we've said. The vast majority of it is commingled, and therefore, unfortunately, goes to Park Adfa rather than through our recycling. However, whilst we still have this additional funding, we do have additional resources out there. We have people working longer hours, etc., etc. And to be fair, I think given the circumstances, our staff are actually doing an amazing job in keeping on top of it. But again, I appeal to the public to remember to take your waste home or use a bin. In most locations in Conway, there's bins every few hundred metres, certainly in the most popular locations. And there's no excuse for just leaving rubbish by the side of bins. So if everybody comes to our county and our residents as well, take that in mind and look after our environment, everything will carry on. We'll try and keep everything as clean as we possibly can, but we need the people to help.
Yeah, correct. Thank you very much.
Iawn, Gronwy. Okay. Cynghorydd Charles McCoubry, the leader.
Diolch, Darren, and thanks for letting me speak. Thanks, Fran, for this document. It's a good job I'm grey already, because there's some of this you'd read and it'd turn even greyer. But it's really pleasing to see things where we can make a difference. We have made a difference, sort of education, mental health, the recycling rates and stuff. I think the scary stuff is the stuff that's a little bit out of control. In terms of homelessness, we've got a 16% increase in house prices. That's a real concern. It was always a struggle before for people to afford houses, but that's a bigger issue. What really worries me a little bit, I don't think we've had around 1.3 million Eastern Europeans have left to go because of Brexit. Not because of Brexit, sorry, because of COVID, they've had to go home. As a result, they weren't here to register on the 1st of May. You now have to earn £26,000 or £24,000 a year to come back in. So we've got huge gaps in our hospitality sector. 80% of them are advertising for staff. That has a knock-on effect on our ability to, we've had to close 4 toilets because we're struggling to get cleaners. Our domiciliary care is going to struggle to match the wages. Hospitality businesses can simply put their prices up and recoup the money that way to pay their staff. We can't. So it's a really good bit of work, and thank you for it, Fran. But I think there will be a lot of concerns ahead moving forward, keeping our workforce motivated and in post. So thank you. Thanks, Chair.
Diolch yn fawr, Cynghorydd Charlie. Wel, does gynnau neb arall wedi codi'w llaw. Felly, gai ofyn os a rywun yn barod I gynnig bod ni'n mynd â fo argymhelliad yr adroddiad yn 2.1. Sgwch dda. Is there somebody ready to...
Chairman, I'm happy to propose the recommended draft.
Thank you, Harry. Councillor Pauline, I see your hand up. Are you willing to second? Diolch yn fawr. Dyna ni. Iawn, felly, gai alw ar Sally I alw'ch enwch chi allan, os gwelwch chi dda.
Yeah, so it's for, against or abstain. Councillor Phil Capper.
For.
Councillor Jeff Corrie.
For.
Councillor Pauline Heap-Williams.
For.
Councillor Andrew Hinchliffe.
For.
Councillor Chris Hughes.
Obliged.
Councillor Wyn Ellis-Jones.
Obliged.
Councillor Peter Lewis.
For.
Councillor Yvonne Lloyd.
Obliged.
Councillor Dave Rees.
For.
Councillor Austin Roberts.
Obliged.
Councillor Sam Rowlands.
For.
Councillor Harry Saville.
For.
Councillor Nigel Smith.
Obliged.
Councillor Joan Vaughan.
For.
Councillor Andrew Wood.
For.
And Councillor Aaron Wynne.
Obliged.
Yeah, that's unanimous, Chair.
Diolch yn fawr. Mi fedrai felly mwyn y Cymraeg gadarnhau bod hwnna wedi'w dderbyn. Reit, ymlaen â ni i'r eitem nesaf, eitem 9B, dir drafodion yr rhaglen gyfalaf am y flwyddyn 2020 a 2021 a chynlluniau i'w trosglwyddo I 2021 a 2022 a dwi'n credu mae Sandra Forrest fydd yn arwain yr eitem yma. Bore da, Sandra, good morning.
Bore da, Councillor Austin, good morning. For the recording then, my name is Sandra Forrest and I am the Head of Accountancy and Exchequer, and I'm going to present the Capital Programme Outturn report to members. So if I can share my screen then, I've done a quick presentation which will take you through the numbers on the report. Okay, so can you see that report, the presentation now? Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So the purpose of the report then is to inform members of the outturn position on the capital programme for 2021 and report the underspend programme of 38.347 million against the revised programme then. Unfortunately, due to the pandemic, the usual quarterly reports that were presented to members, we only managed 2 reports. So we presented one in October and then one in January to present a revised programme for members to approve then. So the initial programme then was approved on the 5th of March and it was 14.19 million. And the funding for the programme was 6.8 million supported, 5 million unsupported, and 2.4 million grants and other funding. So the first report that came to members was in October, and the revised programme was then revised upwards to 78.5 million. Then in January 21, it came down to 65.2, and the actual outturn is 26.8 million. And then just below that, it shows you how all these schemes were funded. So you can see the majority of the schemes were grant funded. So 21.2 million was grant funding that was secured in the year. So just to give you a little more detail and background on that then. So we have our initial programme of 14.19. And then in the October report, we reprofiled those schemes that were not completed in 1920 and brought forward the funding for those schemes into the 2021 programme. So that added 39.127 million. And then on top of the schemes that were brought forward, we managed to secure 16.196 million of grant funding within the year for schemes. And then we had prudential borrowing, so this was for vehicles. So where departments had a big vehicle programme, then this was funded from their revenue budgets. And that added another 8.989 million. So at the October report, then we estimated that the programme would be 78.5 million. The next report taken to members then was in January 21, where we requested 16.47 of those schemes, which were mainly infrastructure schemes, be carried forward to 21-22 because they wouldn't be completed. Then we had additional grant funding between October and January of 3.168 million. So that brought the programme down then to 65.2 million, and that was the last programme that was approved. So when we've closed our accounts, done all our accruals, the actual spend was only 26.853 million because there was quite a lot of delay on a number of the larger schemes. So against the revised budget then, there was an underspend of 38.347 million. And Appendix 2 then gives you those schemes against the approved programme of 65.2 million, where there was a variance against the approved schemes. So what did we spend our money on in 2021 then? So this just gives you an overview basically of the main schemes that was funded through the programme. So we had social services, so we'd started some building projects, so we'd spent 1.7 million. Housing renewals 1.8, traffic and network management 4.3, schemes on coastal defence and flood 3.8, county roads, etc. So that was where your 26.9 million was spent within the year. And if you look back, then it was actually 20 of that spend, then 21.2 million was through grants. So that was a significant achievement within the year. So a number of the larger schemes then, due to various reasons, weren't completed in 2021, and they will be reprofiled into 21-22. So we're going to report on the details of those reprofiled schemes then in the Q1 capital monitoring report, and we'll request the bring forward then. And obviously it's expected that most of the schemes will be the large infrastructure projects, where there's been some difficulty in mobilising resources because it does take a lot of planning to get these schemes off the ground. So the recommendations then is just to accept the report reflecting the final capital programme outturn position for 2021, and then approve a carry forward of underspends from 2021 to 21-22 up to a maximum of 38.347, which is the underspend amount. But this will be brought to members at the next meeting. And that concludes my report. I'll pass back to you then, Councillor Austin.
Diolch yn fawr, Sandra. Short and sweet and very neat.
Yes.
Diolch yn fawr, Sandra, for the report. Iawn. Os a rywun eisiau gofyn cwestiynau I Sandra? Anybody want to ask any questions? I have Cynghorydd Harry Saville.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I was just going to start by saying I'm happy to propose the recommendations in the report that we note the current position as far as out-term and capital projects are concerned. One question I did have, and I don't know if Sandra or if Greg is still here, whether or not either of them will be able to help me. I'm looking at the ERF projects that there was some expenditure against last year, and there's the line various stack repair / Great Orme septic tank / Moston Street / road safety, and there was some significant expenditure against that project line. I just wondered whether or not the Great Orme septic tank work had been completed yet. I know the work was in progress late last year, but I'd be grateful for an update if anyone here is able to provide me with one. Other than that, happy to propose the recommendation in the report.
Diolch, Harry. I don't think Sandra can answer that question. Can you, Sandra?
Not off the top of my head, but
No.
I'll report straight back to you after the meeting.
And I'm looking at Greg Robbins. He hasn't put his hand up, so I take it he can't answer the question. Oh, he is. Right, Greg.
Yeah, quite slightly complicated answer. There's significant work done on the septic tank and the initial problems have been resolved. However, we're looking for a more sustainable long-term solution, which is ongoing and something I'm quite to discuss with you and Louise outside of this meeting.
Lovely. Thanks, Greg.
Diolch yn fawr, Greg. Thank you, Greg. Cynghorydd Peter Lewis.
Well, thank you, Chair. It was on a similar line and Greg's answered it, and I guess it'll come out at a future meeting. So I'm happy to propose Councillor Harry's proposal, Chair.
Yeah, you mean second it?
Second it, Chair.
Yes,
yeah.
Thank you. Diolch yn fawr. Dyna ni, os rhywun arall eisiau gofyn unrhyw gwestiynau, nag oes awn ni ymlaen, felly mae gennau gynigydd a mae gennau eilydd bod ni'n mynd o'r argymhellion, felly drosodd i chi, Sally.
Okay, so again, for, against or abstain, Councillor Phil Capper.
For.
Councillor Jeff Corrie.
For.
Councillor Pauline Heap-Williams.
For.
Councillor Andrew Hinchliffe.
O blaid.
Councillor Chris Hughes.
O blaid.
Councillor Wyn Ellis-Jones.
O blaid.
Councillor Peter Lewis.
For.
Councillor Ifor Lloyd.
O blaid.
Councillor Dave Rees.
For.
Councillor Austin Roberts.
O blaid.
Councillor Sam Rowlands.
For.
Councillor Harry Saville.
For.
Councillor Nigel Smith.
O blaid.
Councillor Joan Vaughan.
For.
Councillor Andrew Wood.
For.
And Councillor Aaron Wynne.
O blaid.
Yeah, that's unanimous, Chair.
Mi fedrai gadarnhau hynny, felly bod hwnna wedi'w basio. A gai hefyd diolch i Sandra am yr adroddiad a dymuno yn dda iddi hi a i chymdogion staff sydd wedi cynllunio yr adroddiad yma. Mae'n diolch iadan ni gyd yn mynd i'r swyddogion hynny. Diolch yn fawr, Sandra. Iawn ta, mi symudwn ni mlaen. Eitem 10, adroddiad blynyddol trosolwg a chraffu 2020-2021, a mae pennaeth yr adran gwasanaethau democrataidd Siân Branwen Williams i gyflwyno yr eitem yma. Bore da, Siân, good morning.
Good morning, Councillor Austin. So for the purposes of the live streaming and the recording, I am Siân Williams. I'm the Head of Democratic Services at Conwy County Borough Council. And as the Chair has just said, I'd like to present the annual overview and scrutiny report for 2020-21, which I think is an excellent report prepared by Dawn Hughes, our Scrutiny and Committee Services Officer. The report provides an overview of the scrutiny function within the Council, as well as a synopsis of the work undertaken by each of our 4 overview and scrutiny committees, and it's focusing on the effectiveness of the work that has been undertaken during the year. The report also provides details of how scrutiny operated during the pandemic and the work that was undertaken to ensure that overview and scrutiny members could engage with the democratic process. Whilst there was an emphasis on business critical meetings in the very early stages of the pandemic, I think it's correct in saying that the Overview and Scrutiny Committee chairs and vice chairs recognised that there was a role in scrutinising the Council's response to the pandemic. As a result, there were a series of member briefings as a short-term solution until the formal scrutiny arrangements could be introduced in July 2020. The chairs and vice chairs continue to recognise the additional pressure on staff as a consequence of the pandemic and take this into account when reviewing and prioritising items for the Scrutiny Forward Work Programme. Again, using the agreed scrutiny criteria, which prioritises topics based on outcomes and the added value that scrutiny can give. The chairs and vice chairs have continued to meet virtually on a monthly basis throughout the pandemic, and the minutes of those meetings are shared with all members to ensure that there is a clear understanding of the approach that is being taken. Having said that, virtual meetings were successfully introduced very early on within Conway, and formal overview and scrutiny committee meetings were reintroduced in July 2020, with all meetings being live streamed and recorded to ensure transparency and accountability. The annual report also provides progress against our local PIs. Notably, attendance levels have increased compared to previous years, with average attendance at 85% compared to 72% in 2019-20. I think the annual within the annual scrutiny report, there is a further breakdown for the individual committees, with reference to paragraph 2.3. Sorry. I think it's worth noting that attendance at Economy and Place Scrutiny Committee increased to 93%. Finance and Resources increased to 91%, Education and Skills increased to 79%, and Social Care and Health increased to 77%, which was actually the biggest percentage increase. Members will also note that there is an additional column in the table this year, which shows the average number of non-committee members in attendance at the meetings, because there has been an increase in non-committee members as well as committee members. Number of meetings. So despite the various restrictions and difficulties, not only because of the pandemic, but we recognised that in April 2021, the workload within democratic services was a lot higher because of the elections that were scheduled in May. So we did put chairs and vice chairs agreed that scrutiny committees could be deferred. But having said that, the number of meetings held was on par with 2019-20. And again, the details of those meetings in the second table and paragraph 2.3. The report also recognises the additional work that scrutiny members undertake as representatives on project and programme boards. I think moving forward, we recognise the need to build on improvements to public engagement, and due to the success of live streaming, we want to use social media to promote democracy, but we're also very mindful that we need to develop and thoroughly test the hybrid meeting solution as part of that process. So the recommendation, Chair, that members are asked to consider the content of the annual report and, subject to any comments from the committee, recommend it to Council for approval. Thank you, Chair.
Diolch yn fawr, Sian. Thank you very much for that report. And may I, on behalf of all the members, thank you and your staff for all the work that you've done in these difficult times. I know it hasn't been easy for your departments, because at the end of the day, you're the heartbeat of this council. Your department is the one that makes sure that we run properly and that democracy works. And I'm sure all the members of this committee are grateful to you and your staff for all the work you've done during this past year.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Right, I've got loads of hands, so you've got loads of people to answer to, Sian. You'll be pleased to know. Councillor Joan Vaughan, bore da, good morning.
Bore da, leader. Chair.
No, I'm not quite leader yet.
No, I know.
Maybe
Sorry.
in the future.
Yeah, best of luck there. Yeah, okay, I'm involved in 3 scrutiny committees, and I have to say, without the support of IT and Democratic Services and the assistance of the girls who work there, I personally wouldn't have been able to join. I have learned so much. My IT skills have improved enormously. And it's really worked very well for me, very well, and I know for others. I can't wait to get back in the chamber, mind you, but I have to say I'm very pleased that I have been able to attend and take part in scrutiny, and I honestly think everybody in Conway has to be congratulated.
Diolch fawr, Joan. So that wasn't a question. Thank you. Right, Harry Saville.
Yes, thanks again, Chairman. I've got two questions for Sean briefly. Right, the first one, the report shows that we have higher attendance figures when we have committee meetings after the end of normal working days, so, you know, after 5:30. And when we made the Diversity in Democracy declaration a few weeks ago, one of the papers we noted from the WLGA made reference to councils looking to schedule meetings outside of the ordinary working day. So councillors that maybe have full-time employment, younger people like myself, might be able to attend more meetings. So the majority of our scrutiny meetings at the moment take place between 9 to 5. I'd like to know whether or not your team have capacity to look at having meetings later in the evening to allow more people to potentially attend. Of course, as your report shows, we have better attendance figures when we meet after 5 p.m. So that's the first question. The second question related to the number of reports considered by the Social Care and Health Overview and Scrutiny Committee. I just wondered why the number of reports wasn't higher for that particular committee, considering there'd been some concern that that committee wasn't considering enough reports earlier this year. I just wondered why they hadn't requested more information to come to them.
Diolch, Harry. Sian?
Hey, thank you, Councillor Harry. So in terms of the first question, yes, you are correct. As part of the Diversity and Democracy Declaration, Democratic Services Committee will be looking at an action plan to look at the detail of everything that sits behind that declaration and how we can support, how we can attract people to stand for election and then support the new membership May 2022. You will recall, Councillor Harry, that at the start of every new term, we are required to survey all our councillors and ask for their preference in terms of the timetabling of meetings. And then ultimately, based on the information from that survey, it is a council decision to agree the timetable of meetings. I think that if we looked across all 22 local authorities, we are one of the few local authorities that does have a mixture of timing of meetings. So that does reflect very well on Conway, because I do know that there are still some local authorities that don't have evening meetings. They are purely daytime meetings. In terms of capacity, if council did set the timetable of meetings and the majority of meetings were evening meetings, then yes, we would have capacity to deal with that because we have a flexible working arrangement. So anybody working a late shift, so to speak, would then have the flexibility to have time off during what is traditionally considered a normal working day. I hope that answers the first question. And then in terms of the second question, I can only say possibly it's quality over quantity. I don't know why there aren't the same amount of reports going to social care and social care and health scrutiny committee, but the forward work programme is agreed by the chairs and vice chairs. I'm not aware of anything that has been requested and not included on the forward work programme.
Lovely, thanks, Sean.
Can I also just come in and say there has been a number of information only reports which the chair and vice chair felt that scrutiny couldn't add any value, and they have gone in the members' brief as well. So So that's another reason.
Okay, diolch yn fawr. Are you happy, Harry? Do you want to make a proposal?
Oh, I'm more than happy to propose that we accept the draft report as it is, Chairman.
Lovely, diolch yn fawr, thank you. Cabinet Member Chris Cater.
Caderic Austin. Thank you for letting me speak. It's in relation to the local area forums. If we go to page 207, 3.2, the impact of scrutiny, there's a point there that refers to the review of the local area forums that took place in economy and place scrutiny. I think it was in October. And as we know, as we all realize, the purpose of the local area fora are to receive information of issues of concern and geographical significance, and to be fully informed of any proposal for significant changes to services, and to assess the impact of any corporate or significant developments and work with the town and community council. So that's the end bit of that, the relationship with the town and community councils, that I just want to put to the committee this morning. We have a single point of contact, Halv Jones, that liaises with all the town clerks regarding, what Conway Council feels are significant projects ahead, financing projects and so on. And then they feed back what their priorities, ideas, and potential projects are as well. So I just wanted to find out from the membership today whether this is working okay. I did send an email last week to all the chairs of the forums and also the council links, the senior links, officer links that we have, to find out how they feel the forums have evolved and what the present situation is. I haven't had any response to that yet, but it's perhaps a bit early. But I just thought I'd mention it today at this committee, because there may be some comments that would be useful at this stage. Sorry for my voice being hoarse.
Well, you are a vet. Diolch yn fawr, diolch yn fawr, Councillor Chris. I think before I ask Cabinet Member Gronw Edwards to come in, I can see that Cynghorydd Wyn Jones has put his hand up, and I would imagine he wants to comment about what you've just said, Chris. Cynghorydd Wyn.
Diolch Cadeirydd. Bore da, diolch Cadeirydd.
Fedri di roi dy camera, dorod y camera i ffwr Wyn, diolch yn fawr.
Iawn, hynna well Cadeirydd?
O, dwi'n clywed chdi well, ond dwi dal i weld chdi.
Hynna well ta?
Na welliant, gwelliant.
Hapus o'n?
O, ond dwi hapus.
Diolch Cadeirydd. Ymddiriadau mi na. Mae'r ateb cwestiwn Cynghorydd Chris o ran yr fforyma ardal. Dwi'n teimlo bod yr un ardal ni, yn y mae'r ni, yn gweithio yn dda ar y cyfan. Mae o dal yn cael ei ddatblygu, ac mae yna bethau sy'n gweithio well na'n gilydd, ond y fantas ydy i ni bod ni'n gallu cael adroddiadau a swyddogion i drafod bethau sy'n berthnasol i'n hardal ni yn hytrach na'r sir i gyd. Ar y cyfan, dwi'n meddwl bod nhw'n gweithio yn iawn. Rheswm o'n eisiau siarad hefyd yn ogystal ag hynna oedd, dwi'n gwybod bod yma'r agenda yn benodol, ond lle da ni arni hefo cyfarfodydd hybrid, achos fel da ni'n gweld mae presenoldeb o'r cyfarfodydd rhithiol wedi bod yn uchel, ac mae o'n siwtio rhai ohono ni fwy neu gilydd, yn enwedig rhai ohono ni sydd yn byw yn bellach o'r canolfanna bodlondeb ac yn y blaen, a hefyd yn rhai ohono ni sy'n gweithio lle mae llawer iawn haws i ni gymryd 2 awr allan o'n diwrnod gwaith yn unig, yn hytrach na bod ni'n gorfod teithio lawr i lle bynnag i gael cyfarfodydd. So dwi'n gwybod bod yna waith, bod y swyddogion wedi gwneud gwaith ar gyfer dyfodol cyfarfodydd, a ni'n holio ni os yna rhyw diweddariad, os gwelwch chi dda.
Diolch yn fawr. Sian, can you answer that?
Yes, of course. So I think I'll start by saying it hasn't been without its technical difficulties. We have both sets of engineers from both providers are going into the council chamber on Friday, 6th of August, to try and finalise the systems talking to each other. I have got everything crossed that after that date, we will then be in a position to do some thorough testing of the hybrid solution. I'm very conscious that we gave a target date of September to start moving towards, using the hybrid meeting solution. We still want to achieve that target date, but I have to say it's the technical side that is letting us down at the moment. But hopefully after Friday we'll be in a better position. We're getting everything ready. Councillor Wynne will remember that the protocol for hybrid meeting solutions during the amber phase of going back into council offices was agreed by council at the last council meeting. So we're getting everything lined up, ready, and yeah, just hopeful that we're going to be in a position soon where we can introduce it.
Diolch yn fawr, Sian. Wyt ti'n hapus efo'r ateb yna,
Cynghorydd Wyn? Diolch, Sian, ac gymryd y cyfle yma i ddiolch i Sian a'r swyddogion am ei cymorth yn y cyfnod cynnar pen i'n dechrau cyfarfodydd. Fyddwch chi'n cofio fi o cadeirydd yr pwyllgor yma, ac diolch yn fawr iawn i Sian a'r tîm am ei cymorth yn adag yna i drio cael cyfarfodydd rhithio yma mor fuan ag oedd posib.
Diolch. Cyn ti fynd, wyt ti'n fodlon eilio'r argymhelliad?
Diolch yn
fawr. Reit, diolch i ti am aros, Cynghorydd Gronwy, gei di dy gyfle i siarad rwan. Diolch yn fawr.
Diolch, cadeirydd, diolch yn fawr iawn. Yeah, I think the example that Wyn having just switched his camera off is the only one I would think that is been problematic. And I know how hard the democratic services with IT have been working on trying to make sure we all can get our voices heard during different meetings. This morning I couldn't access anything on the iPad, so until Sian sent it by attachment. So there are still the odd problem, partly because of equipment that different equipment that some of us have, and something we need to look forward to if we have to continue in this mode is to try and get some uniformity of equipment, I think, and that has been a challenge. But I think I can't complain about the support I've had from Democratic Services and IT. It's been excellent. But the only thing that has difference, yes, I've saved an awful lot on fuel by not coming into meetings. My IT bills have gone much higher than they used to be, both for broadband and mobile, which is one cancels out the other, but that's not the issue. I think what I do miss, going on to the point that Wyn made about hybrid meetings, is the opportunity to meet my fellow councillors. And certainly, I think that team element of Conway is strengthened when we do actually get together, and the ability to have a face-to-face conversation. I certainly miss that, and hopefully we can get the hybrid working soon, because I watch the Welsh Assembly government meetings. I'm a bit of a saddle, but I do like to see what they're doing. They get paid enough, but they're not doing much anyway. But they've managed to do it, hybrid meetings, and so I'm sure the technology is there. It's just a matter of getting on with it and doing it, and I'm sure that they are doing their best. So diolch yn fawr to Sian and all the team for the work you've done throughout the year, and hopefully we can resolve these little niggly problems going forward.
Sian, you want to come back?
Yes, just to respond to a couple of points that Councillor Gronwy has made. There will be a report coming to the next meeting of the Democratic Services Committee focusing on the IT offer that should be in place following the May local elections in 2022. We recognise, well, we're fully aware, myself and my IT colleagues, of the difficulties that are experienced depending on what device that you're using. Looking ahead, the different way that we're going to be working, which includes hybrid meetings, what is going to be the best option for elected members. So that report will go in September to Democratic Services Committee so that we can try and get a level of consistency across the board. yes, hybrid meetings. Fully understand, the results from the councillor survey. Lots of emphasis on missing that face-to-face contact with your colleagues. Fully understand it. I think that during any amber phase, we're still going to be restricted in terms of what we can do, because we have to comply at the end of the day with the restrictions that are in place, put in place by Welsh Government. But hopefully amber phase could be short-lived, and once we move over to the green phase, which is working as normal, but in a new way of working, that ability for you to have the face-to-face meetings will still be there, or will return. And we can also look at different ways of working for councillors. We're conscious that the Workwise project is looking at different ways of working for officers. So we need to find a way for elected members to work efficiently, effectively, without losing any of that contact that they feel that is important. Thank you.
Lovely, diolch fawr, Sian. Well, dyna ni gyfeillion. I've got nobody else with a hand up. So dwi wedi cael rhywun I gynnig, a mae gynna I eilydd. Felly, Sally, awn ni ymlaen efo'r bleidlais, os gwelwch yn dda.
Yeah, so again, it's for, against, or abstain. Councillor Phil Capper.
For.
Councillor Jeff Corrie.
For.
Councillor Pauline Heap-Williams.
For.
Councillor Andrew Hinchliffe.
O blaid.
Councillor Chris Hughes.
O blaid.
Councillor Wyn Ellis-Jones.
Blaid.
Councillor Peter Lewis.
For.
Councillor Ivor Lloyd.
O blaid.
Councillor Dave Rees.
For.
Councillor Austin Roberts.
O blaid.
Councillor Sam Rowlands.
For.
Councillor Harry Saville.
For.
Councillor Nigel Smith.
O blaid.
Councillor Joan Vaughan.
For.
Councillor Andrew Wood.
For, and thanks, Sian.
And Councillor Aaron Wynne.
O blaid.
Yeah, that's unanimous again, Chair.
Diolch fawr, mi fydda I gadarnhau felly bod hwnna wedi'w basio. Wel, dyna ni gyfeillion. Cyfarfod sydyn. A cyfarfod diddorol dros ben. Gai ddiolch I chi gyd am ymuno efo ni heddiw. Gai ddiolch yn enwedig i'r rheini sydd wedi cyfrannu, sef Dawn, Fran, Sandra, Sian. Arbennig, mae'n diolch I Sally yn fan hyn, ac hefyd I Glain y cyfieithydd. Gai ddiolch I chi gyd am ddod yma heddiw, ac gai ddymuno pnawn da.
Thank you.
Hwyl wan, tara. Tan tro nesaf.
Thank you. Bye.